Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here, and it is Thursday evening once again. You all know what that means. It is time for this week's Bungie Weekly Blog. This week at Bungie for the week of May 31st, 2018. Last day of the month, and we've got some big things to talk about. This week's blog article covers a lot of things. Incoming faction rally, changes to escalation protocol, the newly released Crucible Labs, and even more. We've got some very special stuff to get into, so let's just go ahead and dive on into it. This week at Bungie, we're preparing for the future. Recently, we updated the development roadmap with some new milestones. September was plotted as a new waypoint with a hint of more yet to be revealed. The time for that reveal has come. Here's your host with the details for our next really big show, and then we get to hear from Deej about what's going to be coming in the future of Destiny. Here's what he had to say. We'd like to invite you to catch a glimpse of what we have planned for the second year of Destiny 2. We have some big ideas for how we're going to transform your Guardian lifestyle and reinforce your hobby as an interplanetary hero. We'll tell you all about it, and we'll do it live. You'll hear from many members of our development team who will set some big goals for September in their own words. We'll explore deeper into new territory with game director Steve Cotton and project lead Scott Taylor, two faces that you might recognize from previous reveals. We'll respond to a bunch of community feedback and unveil some other things you haven't even been looking forward to. We'll top it all off with a look at a new roadmap with exciting new promises for everyone. And then we get this, our first official reveal for the start of Destiny 2 Year 2, the big expansion coming later this year. And if I may say so myself, that looks an awful lot like the Reef, doesn't it? But yes, Destiny 2 Year 2 reveal is going to be happening live Tuesday, June 5th at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Bungie's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Bungie. This will be the beginning of a conversation that's going to last all summer long. You won't want to miss it. And we hope to see your names in chat as you give us your hot takes and spam those emotes. So yeah, we're starting things off really big this week in the TWAB with the official reveal date for the upcoming expansion coming later this year in September, starting off Year 2 of Destiny 2. And I've got to say, I'm really excited. I wasn't expecting to hear about it this early. I figured the first we would hear about the coming end of summer expansion was probably going to be E3, which is another week or two away. So I'm very excited that we're going to be getting our first look live on Bungie's Twitch channel next week. We should have known them going live this week was a test for something. But alright, that's not the only thing we can fangasm over in this week's TWAB, because of course, faction rallies are returning, and they're going to be seeing some rather big changes. In a section titled Return of the Rallies, Bungie had this to say. Destiny Update 1.2.1 brought improvements to faction rallies for Season 3. Back in March, the season's team discussed their overall goals for the event. Today, we'll revisit those goals and outline the changes that have been made to achieve them. First things first, they wanted pledging to a faction to be a meaningful choice. And so, in order to emphasize that, here's some changes that they've made. 1. Players may now only pledge to one faction per account during a faction rally event. Reputation progress is retained through multiple events, and it will not be reset during the season, even if a player changes allegiance. Each faction offers unique rewards such as exotic armor ornaments or masterwork catalysts for exotic weapons, and that they're planning to host at least 3 faction rally events over the course of Season 3. Dead Orbit will offer the Eye of Another World ornament and the Graviton Lance catalyst. New Monarchy will offer the ornament for the Crest of Alpha Lupi and the Sweet Business catalyst. Future War Cult will offer the Knucklehead Radar ornament and the Sunshot catalyst, virtually ensuring that Dead Orbit is finally going to win a faction rally, since everyone's going to want to get that Graviton Lance catalyst. Well played, Bungie, you finally got us to give one to DL. And that's super exciting stuff. We knew about some of this thanks to some of the database leaks that had come to D2 beforehand, showing us that some of these catalysts were indeed tied to factions, but it's still great to see that we're going to be having exotic ornaments and real kind of tangible rewards that give real weight to your decision and who to support when it comes to this faction rally. I've got to say, I'm not that much a fan of being able to pledge to one faction per account when they talked a bit about, again, adding more weight to your decision of faction rallies, making the reward seem more, worthwhile for you. I wanted that. I wanted my choice to have more weight tied to it. I wanted this to be more of a worthwhile thing. I didn't want Bungie to take away my options in order to, of who to pledge with. Ever since D1, it's always been, my Hunter was always my Dead Orbit guy. My Titan was always my future War Cult guy. My Warlock was always my New Monarchy guy. That was just kind of these stories I had built up with these characters. So it kind of bums me out that I'm not going to be able to pledge to all the factions with all the characters that I want. But I am happy that there are significant unique rewards that's going to be tied to these factions, really giving you an incentive to pledge to the one that's got the stuff that you want to get. Kind of a give and take moment here, at least in my opinion. But we've also got some seasonal vendor progression. Each faction now features ranks, which players can reach by earning faction tokens. And now, faction rank up rewards will continue to grant legendary armor and weapons past rank 30. Right now, or at least previously within faction rallies, if you got enough rank ups to hit rank 30 with them, suddenly all you would get was shaders. That's no longer going to be a thing. You're going to be able to continue earning weapons and armor as long as you're getting those faction tokens turned in. And then we get some great looks at some of the new gear for all three of the factions. You can see the exotic catalysts, the exotic ornaments, the new ships, the new guns, all of the new stuff for all three of our favorite factions. And I've got to say, there's some pretty good looking stuff in there. The new armor sets are very cool looking. We've got some new color schemes for some of this stuff in there. If you look at the new Monarchy Titan there, not too bad at all. But that's not the only changes coming to faction rallies, as they go on to state this. Faction rallies should provide a unique gameplay experience and not simply be a reward layer on top of the existing game. Additionally, these events should build interest in lost sectors and armor ornament objectives. And so, faction rallies will now feature the Renown system. After pledging to a faction, players may earn Renown by completing a public event or patrol, or by defeating high-value targets on destinations. Players who loot a lost sector with Renown active will receive significantly more faction tokens than usual. The more stacks of Renown they have, the more faction tokens they earn. Renown is lost when players are defeated by enemies, so be careful when you're attempting to loot a lost sector with high Renown. And Renown will increase the overall level of challenge in gameplay. So this is going to be something that increases your rewards, but also increases your risks within PvE. Here are some of the changes you'll be seeing. As your Renown increases, health regeneration is vastly reduced, but enemy kills will have a chance to drop health orbs that can restore your health. Player damage will be decreased in stacks up to 5. And incoming damage will be increased in stacks up to 5. Meaning it's going to lead to some very high risk, high reward gameplay out there. As you build up Renown, completing objectives, killing enemies and whatnot, you'll be building up your stacks of Renown, which will increase the amount of loot you get for every lost sector that you loot, but enemies will also deal way more damage to you, and you'll deal way less damage to them. Your health regeneration is going to be down. You're going to have to kill enemies in order to get your health back. So you're going to have to play very carefully. But you're going to have this really cool sort of aura on yourself. While Renown is active on a player, others around them can see which faction the player has pledged to. I really like that. This is really cool. It's something I wish they would incorporate in a PvP mode, sort of like a faction war PvP mode, but being able to see this out in third person, just out in the world and in the PvE space, being able to see what faction people are tied to is pretty cool. Overall, I like this Renown system. This is a neat way for Bungie to kind of lean into the usage of lost sectors. They know everybody just runs lost sectors if they want to get those faction tokens back as quickly as possible. And I find this to be a really interesting new system because, of course, rather than trying to nerf the lost sector grind like Bungie's been known to do in previous faction rallies, they're leaning into it and saying, okay, if you want to run lost sectors, great. Here's a system that we're going to incorporate that's going to make that harder, but also way more rewarding. So if you just want to run those lost sectors, you can do that. Well done, Bungie. I like it. I kind of wish it would tie to sort of a Nightfall challenge card system. So for some players who may not want to deal with the crazy effects of Renown, don't really have to, with the lower health regeneration and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I really like this. Anything that gives players an opportunity to earn more rewards while just playing normal content gets a thumbs up from me. And plus, I think the auras look really cool. I wish they would do something this unique with the Nightfall auras. I still say auras in this game are kind of a wash. If we can't have the flaming skulls from Destiny 1, give me like a Super Saiyan aura for getting a super high score on a Prestige Nightfall. But anyways, let's move on with the rest of this TWAB. Of course, faction rallies will continue to feature a winner's offering to the faction that earned the most rank packages during a given event, and these rewards will then be available in the rank up reward pool in the following event. Faction rallies will be going live next week on Tuesday, June 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So be ready to dive into that as soon as things go live. But after that, we get to hear a little bit about Escalation Protocol and how exactly it's going to be seeing some changes very, very soon. In this, we got to hear from design leads Jacob Benton and Ben Womack about how exactly they're going to be tuning Escalation Protocol based on the feedback the community's been giving. And basically, they're going to be lowering the overall level of enemies past a certain point. Here's what they had to say. The moment this weekly update goes live, the power levels for Escalation Protocol enemies will be lowered in waves 4 through 7. Waves 1 through 3 are unchanged and will remain at 370 power. The current power level of enemy waves within Escalation Protocol goes like this. Waves 1 through 3, enemies are at level 370. Waves 4 and 5, they're at 385. And waves 6 and 7, enemies have previously been at power level 400. The new values? Waves 1 through 3 are unchanged, still at 370. Waves 4 and 5 are now at 380, and waves 6 and 7 are at 385. They go on to state that they're making this change basically because the difficulty of the upper tiers of Escalation Protocol were a little bit too high for an average fire team of 3 to reliably get the game mode done. They want Escalation Protocol to be difficult, but when you have to pull in 6 to 9 people in order to even have a chance to complete it, well, that's not exactly what they designed it for. And because of that difficulty, they've noticed that fire teams of 3 oftentimes aren't even attempting Escalation Protocol, which I can definitely attest to. If I don't have a group of 6 to 9 people that I can reliably pull in for it, I don't even attempt the EP. And I could definitely imagine most other players don't as well. And so tweaking the difficulty of waves 6 and 7 very quickly through power level changes was something they could do right away, given the tools that they have without having to wait for any sort of major update. And it was the easiest way to kind of tune back Escalation Protocol while still leaving it as a challenging in-game activity that wasn't impossible to the majority of players. Overall, I think this is a pretty good change. I think, honestly, the reason that they're going with this is because it was probably not really feasible for them to create any sort of matchmaking for Escalation Protocol or for them to bump up the amount of people you can pull into a public zone. It was easier for them to just tune down the levels of the enemies in those last 2 encounters, which is fair. I think putting the enemies 15 light levels above you, even if you're a max level player, was a little bit much for Escalation Protocol and definitely was a bit too high of a barrier to entry for most 3-man fire teams to complete. I think at 385, that's a nice plateau to sit on. It's absolutely in-game level and most people should be able to at least attempt it now. Who knows, maybe your boy will actually get that shotgun now. But alright Guardians, that is it for the most important bits of information in this week's issue of This Week at Bungie. There's so much in here. I know this video went on a little bit long, but there's so much stuff to talk about with the changes coming to Faction Rally, with the changes that are being implemented with Escalation Protocol. I know a lot of you Guardians out there are going to be super happy about that. And of course, the big reveal of the expansion that's coming later this year. We're going to be learning more about all of that kind of stuff next Tuesday. I cannot wait. Make sure you Guardians are staying tuned right here. We will be covering all the latest Destiny 2 news as it's coming out. But alright, it's going to be it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to leave us your thoughts for all of this stuff down in the comment section below. If you'd like to read the rest of the TWAB, we'll leave a link to it down in the description box if you want to check out any of the other stuff that's going on. But anyways, that is it for this one. Thank you Guardians so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.